some people are asking how can they get rid of their diabetes, and can they actually get off medication for their diabetes?
All right, well, that's a good question, and it's relevant for today since diabetes is considered not only an epidemic, but now it's a pandemic. The whole world's getting diabetic, and you'll notice that right along next to that pandemic is the pandemic of obesity. They kind of go together. We're talking about type 2 diabetes. You know, type 1 diabetes is where the pancreas really doesn't make insulin. That's a whole different condition than insulin resistance, which is what type 2 diabetes is. People become insulin resistant. So you're not going to get rid of it because there's no it to get rid of. So the way we have to look at this is that the body becomes insulin resistant because it is getting overfed with sugar. And so the body does this to protect itself. Because if you get too much sugar, if you're eating too much pasta, bread, rice, cakes, all the things that are broken down into glucose, and what happens if you're eating too much of it, the consequences on a biochemical and physiological process can be fatal. I mean, too much sugar is a potential fatality. So you have to cut that down. And so what the body does is become resistant so that the cells cannot actually take that glucose in. Now that glucose remains in the blood, but it doesn't get into the cells, right? And that's what happens in diabetes, insulin resistance. In other words, if you all can remember or keep in mind that the way that glucose metabolism works is that in order for glucose to get into a cell, it needs insulin. Insulin is secreted by the pancreas, and insulin is the key that opens the door and lets it go inside the cell. Without the insulin, the glucose simply will stay in the blood, and that's what diabetes is. We find that the blood sugars are high, and their hemoglobin A1C is high. We see that, and so basically their body is starving in a situation where there's an excess of sugar, which is kind of crazy. But think about it as dying of thirst on a raft in the ocean. You're surrounded by water, but you can't drink it. It's got salt, so you would need desalinating apparatus to get that into you to drink, and that's what the insulin is. It desalinates it and brings it into the boat. Clearly, your body's doing this to protect you. Keep in mind, there's no such thing as diseases. Diseases are the body trying to maintain the integrity of the organism. What we need to do is get rid of the reason why the body is doing that. Okay, so the body is resistant because there's too much of this glucose. So stop eating the glucose. It's kind of like, I don't know, if I had a headache because I was banging my head against the wall, then the thing you should recommend to me is to stop banging my head against the wall instead of taking a pill. I could take a pill to get rid of the pain and still bang my head. It's kind of crazy. But it makes more sense to just stop banging my head. And in this case, you stop eating the things that turn into glucose, which are pasta, also all the cooked starches. So you stop eating cooked starches. As a matter of fact, if you are a type 2 diabetic, all you have to do is, for 21 days, just eat raw vegan food, right? Which is nuts, seeds, vegetables, and don't eat the fruit yet. If you're going to eat the fruit, eat some berries, green apples, for now, for the first 21 days. You do that, but mostly vegetables. You do that, and by the end of 21 days, you'll be off all medication. And this happens 100% of the time. Okay, now, once you're off that medication, then you can start to, play around and modify your diet. But you don't ever want to go back to being more than 80-20. 80% raw, 20% cooked. And the cooked, you don't want to be, you want it to be like quinoa. If you're going to have rice, make sure it's brown rice and have very little of it. You want to learn to get full on foods that are nutrient dense, foods that make you, that don't keep you craving. When you eat foods that are full of starches and are processed, they're never enough. They don't satisfy you, which is why you're always looking to snack. You got to get chips, you got to do something like that. That desire to snack is your body saying, I'm not satisfied. It's not getting the nutrition it needs. That's why you need 5 Big Macs instead of one really fantastic salad. One fantastic salad and you're satisfied. You're actually satisfied. You might want to chew on a papaya or something just for the fun of it, for the sweet, but you're satisfied and you don't walk around craving. Diabetes is not a big deal. Type 2 diabetes is not anything other than an eating disorder.